I'm 82 years old. My name is Edward. If you're listening to this while someone you love is still alive, this is for you. Some mornings I wake up before the sun, not because I'm rested, but because my mind gets there first. It goes straight to her, to my wife, to the last thing she ever said to me, and how I nodded like it was something I could come back to later. I couldn't. I'm not telling this because I want sympathy. At this age, sympathy doesn't change much. I'm telling it because when you get this old, you realize how little time you actually had and how casually you spent it. My wife and I were married for 31 years. 31 ordinary years. No scandals, no dramatic breakups, no screaming matches that the neighbors heard. From the outside, it looked like a solid marriage. The kind people point to and say, they made it work. For a long time, I believed that too. These days, my world is small. The kitchen table, the chair by the window, a radio I don't always turn on. I still reach for 2 cups when I make tea. I usually catch myself before I pour the second one. Usually. People like to say old age brings wisdom. What it really brings is quiet, and in that quiet, memories get loud. When I think back on my younger self, I don't see a bad man. That's important to say. I wasn't cruel, I wasn't unfaithful. I didn't come home drunk or disappear for days. I went to work. I paid the bills. I showed up to the big things. I just wasn't there for the small ones. I met my wife in my early 30s. She had a calm way about her. Not shy, just gentle. She noticed details, remembered things people said in passing. When she listened, you could feel it. That kind of attention feels like love, even before you name it. We built a life the way people do. Jobs, responsibilities, routines. At some point, I started measuring my worth by how much I could carry, how much I could provide, how tired I was at the end of the day. I told myself that meant I was doing it right. The truth is, I was always in a hurry. Even when I was sitting still, my mind was somewhere else. Planning, thinking ahead, waiting for the next phase when things would slow down. I believed in later when work eased up, later when things were more stable, later when we had time. Later is a dangerous word. It sounds responsible. It feels patient. But it has a way of turning into never without making a sound. My wife would ask simple things, to go for a walk in the evening, to sit and talk without the television on, to take a short trip somewhere close, nothing fancy. I rarely said no outright. I said soon. I said this weekend. I said after this busy stretch. Busy stretches have a way of stretching your whole life. Over time, she stopped asking as much, not all at once, just gradually, like someone lowering their voice when they realize they're not being heard. I noticed, but I didn't stop it. I told myself we were comfortable. Comfortable felt like success to me. There was no fighting, no tension, no obvious cracks. What I didn't understand then is that silence isn't peace. Sometimes it's resignation. Years passed like that. Not unhappy years, but thinner than they should have been. Conversations became practical. Schedules, groceries, appointments. We functioned well together. We just didn't reach for each other anymore. I thought that was normal. I thought that's what long marriages turn into. 2 people side by side, facing forward, assuming the other will always be there. Then she got sick. Not the kind of sick that knocks you down all at once. The kind that creeps in quietly. Fatigue at first, then pain, then appointments that start taking up more space on the calendar than anything else. I slowed down then. or at least I thought I did. I sat with her more, held her hand, told myself I was finally being present. But presence at the end doesn't erase absence before it. Near the end, she was weaker, quieter. The room felt smaller somehow. One night, the lights were low, and the house was still in that way only old houses get at night. She looked at me and said very calmly, "I waited for you." That was it. No anger, no tears, no long explanation, just those 4 words. I didn't understand them right away. I told her I was there now. I told her she didn't have to worry anymore. She nodded, the way you do when someone says something kind but late. She died a few weeks after that. Those words didn't hit me all at once. They settled slowly, like something heavy lowering itself into your chest over time. I replayed them in my head, trying to soften them, trying to hear them differently. I waited for you. Not, you hurt me. Not, you failed me. Just a statement, a truth. After the funeral, people told me we had a good life, that I was a devoted husband, that she knew she was loved. I nodded and thanked them, because that's what you do. It took months for the house to start teaching me what those words really meant. I noticed how many evenings she must have spent alone while I was busy, how many thoughts she kept to herself because there didn't seem to be space for them, how often she chose not to ask because asking had become another kind of waiting. I found notes she'd written, not dramatic, just reminders, little lists, books with passages underlined, a whole inner life that ran quietly alongside mine. That's the part that hurts the most. She didn't leave, she didn't demand, she adapted. And adaptation can look a lot like peace if you're not paying attention. What can't be fixed now is the waiting. The years she spent hoping I'd slow down on my own. The moments she decided not to interrupt me because I looked tired. The conversations that never happened because they felt inconvenient. Time doesn't care about intentions. It only responds to action. At 82, I see how easy it is to confuse responsibility with love. How easy it is to think that being reliable is the same as being connected. I did what I thought was required. I didn't do what was needed. Love doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for attention. Not grand gestures, not dramatic speeches, just showing up when it's ordinary, when it's boring, when it's easy to postpone. If you're listening to this, I'm not here to tell you how to live. I wouldn't have listened either. I just want you to understand something I learned too late. Being there, eventually, is not the same as being there now. People don't usually leave because of one big thing. They drift because of many small absences, because they feel like they're always waiting their turn in your life. I don't live with loud regret. It's quieter than that. It sits with me when I drink my tea alone, when I look at the empty chair, when I realize how many chances I had to simply stop and didn't. Some days I feel grateful. We shared years. There was laughter, familiarity, a life built side by side. Other days I feel the weight of what was missed. The closeness that never fully formed because I was always looking ahead instead of across the table. My time is short now. I feel it in my body, in my memory, in the way the days blend together. I try to live differently with what's left. I notice more. I don't rush the small moments anymore. It doesn't change the past. Nothing does. If this story stays with you, let it stay quietly. You don't need to announce anything. Just pay attention to who might be waiting for you without saying it out loud. And before I go, if this meant something to you, you can let me know. You can leave a comment or a like, or share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you want to hear more stories like mine, you can subscribe. not because you have to, just if you want to. That's all.